Welcome, boils and ghouls, to the Critique podcast. My name's Kenny.
And my name is Godden.
And together we're here to watch and review every horrific, often hilarious episode of the legendary HBO anthology series, Tales from the Crypt. God, and we made it to episode number 2. No, episode number 1.
Oh, episode 2 for us, but episode
there
1 for the...
yeah, episode 2 for us, but this is episode 1 because last episode we just kind of introduced ourselves and introduced the show and our history with the show. This episode, though, we are going to be talking about an episode. This episode, we're going to be talking about an episode. Imagine that. All right, so The Man Who Was Death. So this is from season 1, episode 1, The Man Who Was Death. It aired June 10th, 1989, and it comes from the comic The Crypt of Terror. So right away I see Crypt of Terror and I'm thinking, okay, we're in for kind of a spooky tale. Just to be fair, you guys, spoiler warning. Okay, if you've never watched this before, we're going to be talking spoilers. So if you want to enjoy the experience, which I recommend doing because all of these episodes have a really good twist. So if you don't want to know that, then find some way to watch the episodes before you come here. So I figure to start things off, I'm just going to read the synopsis on the DVD. All right. So we'll see what this says here. A shocking experience when the death penalty is abolished. A penitentiary, that's hard for me to say. A penitentiary executioner turns freelance executioner, but fate may pull a switch on this man who loves to throw the switch.
They're so good with the puns.
Yeah.
They're just really, they're always well done.
So I do want to go through this episode and kind of really dissect it, but just right off the bat, what are your general thoughts on this episode? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Anything stand out?
I was getting just so like numb to him just like breaking the fourth wall and him just talking to us. Like a lot of it just kind of became like background noise to me the first time I watched it. I'd say it's a decent episode. Nothing too crazy. It was a simple narrative. It wasn't my favorite, you know what I mean? It wasn't like anything that stood out for me. But it was something, you just kind of like go with it. Like, this is Tales from the Crypt. It's definitely slow in the beginning, but it picks up.
Yeah, it is a bit of a slower episode. And I think I'm with you with as far as just like, it's an odd one to have as a season premiere. It's not the best. It's still good, though. It's still good. Had I been like, watching this as it premiered, I would have been like, okay, I'm on board with the show. I like it. But watching it again for this review and really digging into it, I like this episode a lot more. There's some good quotes in here and there's some really good moments that I'm looking forward to talking about. So let's get into it. So the Crypt Keeper intro, the very first part of the episode, it kind of comes in with the Crypt Keeper kind of sitting there staring at a bug zapper. And little bugs are flying in and kind of zapping. And he says, poor little fellas, when I think of their childhood, all those little maggots. I thought that was a really good introduction to the Crypt Keeper and where his mind goes when he sees something like that. He sees the bugs dying, and the first thing he thinks is, oh, those poor things, they used to be maggots. But at the same time, he likes killing things. So even though he enjoys what they are, little maggots, he still can't help himself from trying to kill something. So I like that intro. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I did like the intro too, because it does segue to the theme of the episode. Like, it was bug zapping, and he's, like the electrocutioner guy. He's the guy that pulls a switch.
Yeah, the
electricity. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, the whole point is electricity. So that's kind of what he's getting at too there. And even when he opens the book to tell the story, he says, this one's a real shocker.
Yeah, it's the puns from the whole theme. They're so good at that.
Yeah. Now, I do have my favorite pun that the Crypt Keeper delivers. And it's actually not in this intro. So we got to wait to the end. But I do have a favorite pun. Did you get a favorite pun from him this week?
So I just more like the intro when he was playing with the bugs and zapping them, and he's just like, oh well, I like them when they're maggots.
Okay, so the episode starts, and I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the opening panel. The panel, it shows a picture of like Tales from the Crypt, and then it has somebody in an electric chair with a hand in the foreground grabbing the switch to pull it up, and you can see electricity kind of sparking between the handle and the actual top of the device there. The person sitting in the chair is the main character. So if you're familiar with what the main character looks like, or you're maybe perhaps watching the episode or whatever while looking at the cover, you would recognize, oh, that's him. So that kind of gives it away a little bit as to how this is going to end. So I thought that was interesting. So scene 1 opens up in a jail cell, and it opens up on a man who's sitting there kind of deep in thought. Okay, he's definitely a prisoner. He's in the jail cell, but what is he thinking about? Perhaps he's contemplating his life. Something very bad is going to be happening soon. It's a very dark scene. There's very distinct shadows all over the place. It's very noir feeling in this opening scene. But the music doesn't seem to fit. Well, in the opening scene, the music, it's almost like a circus-like music, like they're in a carnival or something. It's very, very, I don't want to say slapstick, but it's very carnival-y. Like, kind of like a little bit on the demented side, but for the most part, just very like high energy sideshow type music, which I thought was very, very interesting. But then a voiceover comes on. He's very nonchalant and matter of fact, the way he's speaking to the audience. He says, "This here is Charlie Ledbetter, sitting in his cell out at the state penitentiary. It's long about midnight. Charlie's going to die in a few minutes." I thought that was interesting how how he delivers that line with just like no empathy, just very matter of factly. He states that was very interesting. So the police drag Charlie out of his jail cell, where into the electrocution chamber, or the electric chair chamber. I don't know what to call that room. At this point, the narrator is revealed, and in this episode, which is unlike most episodes, the narrator, there is a narrator, first of all. There's not normally a narrator in these episodes. And he breaks the fourth wall, and he's talking directly to you. He's revealed to be the executioner, and we learn how much he enjoys what he does. He even says this, I put a couple of quotes that were pretty haunting from him. He says, "People tell me most executioners never look the prisoner in the eye. They're afraid they're going to get spooked or something. Not me. I always look."
Always look.
I thought that was a pretty creepy line from him, and it shed some light onto his psyche, how much he enjoys. I think he enjoys it not for the justice. He enjoys it just for the fact that he's killing somebody, and that's kind of haunting.
But yeah, legally he's able to kill people.
Right? Yeah, he found his golden job.
Yeah.
He also says in this same moment, "They say the electric current so fast, the brain gets cooked just as soon as the switch is thrown. The prisoner never feels a thing. I'd hate to think that was true."
I hate to think that was true.
So not only does he enjoy killing people, he also enjoys inflicting pain on them before they die. So this guy is pretty gross.
He would be a sadist then, right? Instead of a masochist.
Right. He enjoys inflicting pain on other people, so he would be a sadist. Yeah. Later on, we get introduced to him. He introduces himself as Niles Talbert. He's been the executioner for the last 12 years, and he also makes this interesting comment. He doesn't like killing with gas or lethal injection. He says that's how you kill a dog or a cat, not a man. Huh. What do you think it is about electricity that he enjoys so much?
What does he mean by kill a man? You don't use lethal injection. You don't use, firing squad. No, those are for things beneath a man.
Yeah, I think I was thinking it might have to do with the pain, because it's such a violent death. There's it's like this jolt of electricity and just the physicality of it. I think he enjoys. The lethal injection is, you get put to sleep first and then you end up dying, and he does no show for it. He wants that. He wants there to be some sort of a climactic oomph to their death, I think. I thought that was interesting. Anyway. So in the next scene, he goes to kind of a late night diner. He just kind of sits there to get some food, but he overhears a news broadcast informing everybody that the death penalty will be rescinded and there'll be no more executions. So he loses his job, and he's not offered a different position at the same prison because they tell him, well, everybody here knows what you did. So he wouldn't be safe where he is because he was the one in charge of killing everybody. So he loses his job and he basically loses everything that he's very passionate about, right?
Right. It's true.
So Niles ends up sulking. He goes to some bar and he's drinking there and he's venting to the bartender. And one of the things he says while he's venting to the bartender is he says, what they ought to do is put a lot of little TVs in the cells of all the prisoners so that all these guys who are locked up can watch their buddy when he gets cooked. And the bartender's reaction is so weird. The bartender looks him right in the eye and he says, I'd watch that. It's almost as if like the bartender is like jealous that he has this job. Like he wants that job. He wants to be able to see people die. So Niles goes on and he says, if they put executions on TV, it would be the highest rated show of all time and other networks would start executing just to compete. And I think that speaks to our obsession with violence, even today. And, you know, and justice, right? Like the ultimate justice is eye for an eye, right? And it really speaks to that, I think. So I think this episode rings true even today. I think this episode for that reason is kind of timeless.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I think with the bartender responding in that way, I think it's just like how normalized it was, like for the death penalty. Like, oh yeah, like yep, put them on the chair, you know, go on your day. And then now news comes in like, yeah, we're kind of not doing that anymore. And now he's just kind of like spiraling, like, oh, what is he gonna do now that he doesn't have a position like that? But clearly people like the bartender had the same vision as him. Like, yeah, we should still, you know, uplift that kind of view. You know, that's how we should treat other people. That's how we should kill them. Put everyone in a room and watch their other prison mates, you know, get electrocuted. Like,
right. Not only should we continue killing people, we should have everybody watch everybody killing people.
Just glorify it even further. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Let's see here. I got some more quotes, and I'm telling you, this episode. I was with you when I first started the episode. I was like, it's okay, I'll watch it. But watching it this time through, I'm telling you, this Niles guy, I like his quotes. So we get the next scene. He's on kind of walking through the streets, and he's talking about death. And he says, death is a disease. We're all pregnant with it. It's growing inside us all. Which is, on one hand, it's true. Everybody has death brewing, right? At some point, everybody's going to die. But it's interesting to use that analogy of birth and life with death, to say we're pregnant with it, like it's growing inside us all. You know, that was a very, very twisted way to see it, to put together life and death so closely like that. I thought that was really nice.
Cyclical, you know, it's just cyclical.
Yeah, cyclical. That's a good way to put it too. It's like the circle of life.
Mm-hmm. Live to die, die to live, all that.
So at this point, I feel like the episode really gets going. We go to a courtroom, and there is the gentleman by the name of James Flood, who was accused of murder, but he's let off though. He's let off because the I think they said the warrant was improperly worded, so they had to throw the case out. So he killed somebody, but he was let off in a technicality. I like this moment too. Like, we already know he's a bad guy, right? He murdered somebody and he's getting let off and he's happy about it. But then he's confronted by the sister of the man that he killed. And she says, "You killed my brother. How could you?" And on his way out, he says, "Your brother was a fag." Like, just in case.
Oh yeah. He did kill a gay member, huh? Like,
yeah, just in case you weren't convinced this was an evil, bad man. You know, he shouts something like that on his way out of the courthouse to a grieving sister.
That's what validates his motive for crime.
Also, this James Flood guy he's one of the biker guys, one of the biker gang in T2. And I've seen T2. I've seen T2 so many times, so I just couldn't help but see it. He even has the same haircut. I think it's the same era, because T2 came out in 91 and this was 89. So it must have been like a couple years difference, but it's basically looking the same haircut and everything. But he's the guy who puts the cigar out on Arnold Schwarzenegger's chest. After Arnold says, "I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle," he says, "You forgot to say please," and he puts the cigar out on it. It's the same guy, so I couldn't help but see that guy. So Niles ends up taking care of this guy. So he basically rigs up this whole system where he he electrifies like a gate or a fence. So when the James Flood goes to open up the gate, he gets electrocuted. So basically, he takes care of that. So at this point, you're thinking, okay, well, he's killing people, but he's killing people who kind of deserve it. So how do you feel about this main character at this point?
I don't know. He just had so much joy with being the executioner that he's just trying to like fulfill that, I think, when he lost his job. And on one hand, it's like, yeah, he kind of killed the guy that, had a warrant against him. But I don't know. It gets kind of more twisted because then now it's not like, because that's like the civilian life, right? That's like a different department. He shouldn't be crossing that border, right? If his job was to legally execute people, like that should be within only like the judicial system, right? But he's taking it out, and then that's when it becomes like morally corrupt. Like now it's just like anything kind of goes, and just not really there's no rules to this for him. And he just wants to just keep looking for more, I guess, more inmates in this case that he can like just try and electrocute if he can. Mm-hmm. It's not really fair.
Yeah, and who's to say that even if he was found guilty, who's to say he would have gotten the death penalty? So, like, who is this Niles guy to decide? Okay, well, you're sentenced to death, right? So,
right.
So there's that angle too. So yeah,
because he wasn't the guy who made the decisions. Like he would have to get the okay from the higher ups in order for him to do that. So for him to like kind of take it in his own hands to like start marking them, like, oh yeah, that person should die, that person shouldn't. It's like, well, that wasn't his job initially. Right. He's giving himself a position that he never had.
Right. So he basically, after he got fired, he got a promotion.
That's what I think of. I didn't catch that. That's funny.
He gave himself a promotion. Not only is he still executioner, but now he's the judge, and yeah. So, this next scene was an interesting one. He's in the bar and he's talking to the same bartender, and I don't know what to think about this moment. The bartender says something that I'm not sure is suggesting that the bartender's racist, but it's just a weird comment. He's complaining about how the media always focuses on the fact that minorities are the ones who primarily get the electric chair. And Niles' response, I like Niles' response, by the way. Niles says, well, they're all pretty dark when I'm done with them. So I like Niles' response. I think it's pretty dark, but I don't know why the bartender would ask that. I don't know if that was strictly written there to set up that joke. That's a pretty funny joke. But just the fact that the way the bartender asked it made me think that, he felt like the minorities maybe deserved it, and the media shouldn't focus on the fact that minorities are primarily getting the electric chair. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it's a good joke.
Yeah, no, it is good. It's like, hey, buddy, I'm not a racist, but they're all the same to me at the end. Like, okay.
I'm not a racist, but they're all the same in the end. They're all dead and dark.
That's why he's not racist. Yeah, he can never be racist. They'll get burnt to crisp.
Next up, Niles gets his next victim. We're back into the courtroom, and the jury reads a verdict declaring Cynthia Baldwin and Theodore Carney are innocent. And so you see Theodore and Cynthia kind of embracing each other, kissing and saying, oh, it's all over. So you're thinking, okay, well, are they guilty? Because the previous guy was definitely guilty. This couple, you're not quite sure. But Niles is watching from the audience. He's watching from the audience. So you're thinking, okay, well, what's going on here? So later on, this couple they're in like a jacuzzi, and Niles approaches, and he doesn't accuse them. He says, I find you guilty of murder, and I sentence you to death. And it's at that moment when Cynthia confesses and says, oh, it was all Theodore's idea. So at that point, they confess. So at that point, they're guilty. And then he throws in that something to the water and electrocutes them.
Yeah.
And by the way, what did you think of that electrocution scene? Oh my God, the way they like zap, the way it's overacting to the nth degree. It's hilarious the way like their facial expression and then just they're overacting, and the whole just like shaking, convulsing in the water was so funny to me. I had to watch that scene a couple of times.
I love it. Yeah.
Oh, it was hilarious. And that's something that stays true with Tales from the Crypt going forward, is that the death scenes are always just so much fun and delightful and just hilarious to watch.
Just a little over the top, just a tad bit.
Just a tiny over the top. I put in my notes here, glorious over the top deaths.
Glorious.
So I thought it was interesting here that Niles declared them guilty, and sentenced them to death. So he became the jury, the judge, and then he eventually kills them. So he's the executioner. So he is the judge, the jury, and executioner. He's everybody.
He got a full promotion.
Right. So at this point, he sees himself as completely 100% the law. Then the next scene, we go to a strip club. But the scene opens with a discarded newspaper on the ground, and somebody steps on it. So it's clearly just trash. And there's a story it's open to a story. And the story says, "Go, go, goes free. Dancer acquitted of boyfriend's murder." And that's all the backstory we get on this next victim. So I also like how the backstories are getting shorter and shorter. It's almost as if the evidence is becoming less and less relevant. He just wants to find his next victim, and he doesn't care how flimsy or how whether or not it's true that they're accused of what they're accused of. He's just out to kill. I thought that was an interesting way to introduce the next victim. It's just, if you weren't reading it, you would have not seen it. You had to be looking for it. So it was like, it's a lot more subtle than how it's been so far. So I like that. I like how they get that. So he sets up like a huge electric contraption that's like hooked up to the cage that she's dancing in. And his plan is to electrocute her in the cage, like in front of the entire strip club. That also was like alarming. Like the first couple he did in private, he was trying to be secretive about it. But this one, he was planning on having it be like on full display in front of everybody. Like everybody should be able to see my work, right? Kind of that attitude. So he's definitely becoming so grandiose. But of course, before he's able to throw the switch, he's captured. The police barge in and they stop him before he's able to flip the switch. So that particular, victim was saved. When he's captured, at that point, he's given the ironic news. Of course, it's always ironic in Tales from the Crypt. Detective comes and tells him, "I've got good news for you, Mr. Talbert. Since you're such a staunch supporter of capital punishment, you'll be glad that the state legislature has just reinstated the death penalty. And guess who's not pulling the switch this time?"
Yeah, that was iconic for me. Like,
so at that point, Niles is dragged to the electric chair, begging for his life. Just like the scene opened with the first, who was it? The first one? Oh, God, I already forgot his name. Just like Charlie Ledbetter. That's who it was.
Ledbetter.
And that same silly carnival music even plays. I thought that was interesting that they put that same music on for him, the same theme song for your death.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it plays the carnival music to encompass that he was kind of a clown, just kind of delusional about like how this all works, and that as if he could get away with it, like as if this would never come back to him,
Oh, but interesting.
It's like, yeah, like he's the Joker. You're like, yep, it's just you, buddy.
In a circus or in a stage performance, maybe that's how he sees death, like for a show for everybody to see, like an entertaining, fun jest of a show for everybody to see. Yeah, that's interesting. Better. That's interesting.
That probably lines up more with what I was thinking.
Now, this next moment, this, by the way, is my favorite moment of the episode right here. I would have never noticed this had I not paid close attention during this watch through. The executioner, after he straps him to the electric chair, leans down in front of Niles and looks him in the eye.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, even when you brought that up, it still went over my head until now. Always look in the eye.
So yeah,
that's his turn.
There was a lingering moment where the camera just kind of stayed there for a little bit longer than it should have, and the executioner leaned down and looked him right in the eye. So I thought that was very, very sweet justice for Niles. So that's the episode, right? He gets what's coming to him, and then we go back to the Crypt Keeper. And at this point, the Crypt Keeper has abandoned the bug zapper. He's completely in an electric chair, just electrocuting himself for fun.
Because in that scene, he like dons like the thing that goes in your head, like the little brace.
Yeah,
like,
he puts the cap on and everything, and he's pulling the switch just for fun. And I had said that I had a favorite pun, a shriek of the week, if you will. And that was at the very end. The Crypt Keeper says, "Don't worry, though. I'm sure he never knew what hit him."
Oh, I see. What hit him?
So that was my favorite pun of the week from the Crypt Keeper. The puns aren't coming very quick. In later episodes, almost every other sentence he says has some sort of a pun in it. So it took him a while, I think, to kind of grow into that. And the Crypt Keeper here is also very, very dark and like whispery and very definitely trying to be scary, or maybe just not quite witty yet. He's still, the nuggets are definitely there. He's definitely got a funny bone in him, but it's not as as pronounced as it became in later episodes.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I do like that more dark version of the Crypt Keeper, you know. But I mean, I thoroughly enjoy like his comedic side, but I do like that sinister, you know, eerie Crypt Keeper in the first season. I like that style still.
Yeah, it did kind of go the other way, didn't, like upside down. Like, it is nice every once in a while. I guess it would be nice every once in a while to have a really, really dark Crypt Keeper, because in the later seasons, it's mostly just funny. It's mostly slapstick. They do kind of do away with that. So it is very weird seeing that dark side of him. But altogether, though, I get the sense that you weren't the biggest fan of this episode.
I mean, I probably would give it another watch, but you know, it's not one of the episodes where I would introduce somebody to. That's one things I look for usually. If I were to introduce someone else to it, it's like, would I choose this episode?
Yeah, how interesting is that? I feel the same way. I feel like if I'm trying to get somebody into Tales from the Crypt, even though this is the first episode, I wouldn't introduce people to this episode. Or I wouldn't introduce people using this episode. And I didn't with you. When we first started watching it, we didn't watch this episode.
You didn't know.
It's not the best, although I do like it, and I like it a lot more now that I've kind of spent some time with it, kind of revisiting it. So I would say out of 5, before watching it again, I would have probably given it 3 electric chairs out of 5. Okay, let me start over. Had I not known what this show was all about, if this was my introduction to the show, maybe it would be a 4. Maybe I'd give this a 4 out of 5. But knowing the potential that the show eventually became, like, it's I don't find this to be a big heavy hitter of the episodes. So I'll go with 4. I'm gonna go with 4 electric chairs out of 5. Yeah.
Sure. Found verdict.
Precisely. You talked me into it, Godden. You talked me into it.
That wasn't my plan. I was just more gauging you to see where you really stand on it. But,
what would you give it?
You know, I think I'll still stay true to it, like, because I wasn't introduced to this episode initially, and I do also see like the amount of potential it had as the seasons grow. I'd still stick with a 3, because if I were watching it, I think I were to appreciate it a little bit more. Like, there was some puns in there. There were some lines the main character was giving that was actually kind of good. Like I didn't realize the whole like we are all pregnant with death. You know, that whole thing like that. Yeah, that's a good line. Realistically, like, you know, and the way he delivers it, it's not like edgy or anything. It's just like that's just who he is. It just kind of comes off natural. You know, like, so with a line like that, it does fit.
Yeah.
You know, so like, yeah, I just have to rewatch.
Well,
so
I'll
do 3.5 chairs.
So next week we are going to be watching season 1 episode 2, which is And All Through the House.
All Through the House.
Which spoiler alert, that is one of my favorite episodes.
It is a really good episode.
That's a really good one. So we will get to that next week. If you're interested in following along with Godden and my journey through watching all these episodes, then watch the episode before next week and then come join us while we review it. And remember to send us your comments or thoughts, and we'll share those during our podcast. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. My name is Kenny, and if you want to search for me on my other socials, on YouTube, I can be found at Too Bad About Kenny. That's TOO Bad About Kenny, as well as Too Bad About Kenny with the number 2. So happy searching on that. Godden, where can they find you? Me?
Well, I occasionally stream video games on Twitch at my name, which is flipped upside down, which is UAPPO and then the number 6 for Godden upside down. And as we continue this, I will most likely find new social medias to encompass this. You know, like I'll probably use Twitter more.
Yeah, Godden, you might have to be our social media guru, because I don't use Twitter. I've never used it, but you do have a Twitter and you're familiar with it. So maybe we can get a Cryptique Twitter account going on.
We will.
All right.
I'll manage that.
All right, everybody. Have a good week. We'll see you next week with And All Through the House. All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Well, how was that for a scream? Poison goo.